Welcome to the Beasts of the NFC East podcast. I am your host, Sean Michael Gnitzcavich, with my co-host, Jeremy Goode. And Jeremy Goode, before we get started, I just want to say something. You're dead to me! You're dead to us! Oh, shit. I've tried doing it I tried biting his head off a few times, but like
that thing came off
that
easily.
came off really easily. I think you could put change in this, But you're dead to me! You're dead to us! Saquon! I was like planning on biting his head off if the ripping didn't work, but now I don't have to team marks. But anyways, Saquon, who's had a great spot right here. It's what you are now. You're decapitated. You are dead to me, Saquon. You hear that? You think Tiki Barber hates you? Oh, do you think I'm gonna smile at me? No, I'm not gonna smile at you when I see you, Saquon. I'm gonna kick you in the material ACL. I'm gonna tackle you. No, I don't know. I'm sorry. It's been rough. But if you don't already know, today we are covering free agency. And like we were talking about before the show, free agency is one of my favorite times of the year because as a terrible franchise, it's one of those times you can be optimistic or really sad when somebody leaves, like Landon Collins a few years ago, or like Saquon Barkley going to your bitter rivals and probably the team that you hate the most. Anyways, yes, it could be like Christmas. But for me, it was kind of like Krampus visited me and tortured my family. That's what it felt like, because the first signing of the day, we had pretty quiet. We got our long snapper signed. We had Gunnar Olszewski. I'm waiting. And then I see Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles. Jeremy, sorry for taking all that there. I had a lot to get out.
It's understandable. And I'll be honest. The Eagles' MO has never been to pay running backs. It has worked out for the franchise for the last 10 years, honestly, maybe a little longer too, since the second LaShawn McCoy contract. It sort of became a way for this team, which I liked. So you're getting a very talented player, of course, but at first it's like, oh my goodness, $13 million a year. That's a lot. You look into the contract too, and the cap hit for the first year, I think it's only like $4.5 million for Saquon, which is amazing. Second year you get a hit, but the contract's really a 2-year guarantee kind of thing with the third year. It's exciting. I mean, you get a big time playmaker in Philadelphia, someone who has just, I mean, no offense, and I feel bad saying this, but someone who's just experienced so much losing and so much poverty in his NFL career, with the worst offensive line, the worst quarterbacking, the worst head coaching. Although I think Dable, I think he's done a little bit. I think 2 years ago was a good job, and I think Saquon showed it too. He played well 2 years ago too. I think that was nice, but otherwise, it's just been a dreadful career for Saquon in terms of being a winner. And I think he gets to come to so much talent in Philadelphia, get paid like he deserved, regardless of whoever he signed with. I think he earned the money, and we'll see. It's a lot of free agents got paid this offseason, and he was the top of them with Jacob. So it's exciting. I think the Eagles really Swift was good for them last year, but he was missing something. I think that when you're 5'7", 5'8", it's really tough to be a feature running back in the NFL. And I think the Eagles were concerned that he would get hurt ultimately, which limited what they could do with him in the pass game with touches throughout a 60-minute game. I also thought he had some moments where he wasn't amazing at seeing holes down the field. I think that holds him back a little bit. But yeah, he signed with the Bears beforehand, and you sort of knew the Eagles have been in talks with Saquon for a few days, and it seemed like actual real reporting. So
yeah, because they were tampering. Because you guys are tamperers. You guys are dirty, filthy tamperers. Wasn't it his agent that kind of exposed the tampering too? Was it his agent or no? It was the Penn State coach.
Yeah, it was the Penn State coach who's a compulsive liar to be. But if how he deals with the agents, that's all he deals with. But James Franklin, he's a fraud. Regardless, it is weird. I mean, this is someone who really did have an identity with New York and with that.
He was the face of the franchise. He was the face of the franchise. John Mayer wanted to be a Giant for life. like we're going to get into the free agents. This isn't a Saquon. We're going to get into every free agent moves. There's a lot of huge moves. Like even Sam Howell just getting traded to the Seahawks right before we started recording. Obviously Brian Burns. That really like. I was much angrier if we recorded as I might have done much worse things to that Saquon doll than I did. I mean, I spit on him and yelled at him and I ripped his head off. Like I would have done much farther. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about with this free agency. Like this was probably day one, especially was one of the craziest free agencies I think we've ever seen. Like the Giants did most of their moves that day.
Yeah.
But we're going to go through every single free agent that's departed and has come. We'll go into depth the ones that actually matter, the tiny ones like Gunnar Olszewski, like don't really need to go into that stuff. And we'll do like little grades. Yeah, anything else you want to say before we start getting started here? I guess one thing that I do like, what do you think is the biggest shock of all of free agency? Not even in the NFC East, because we're obviously doing NFC East team by team. The biggest shock, what do you think before we get into everything?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit. Ridley going for as much as he did in Tennessee is bizarre. But I don't. I think maybe Derrick Henry to the Ravens just because
I like that move a lot.
not like shocking like a bad shock, but like shocking like oh that's it. Like they have an interesting running dynamic between him and Lamar now. So. And not too high of a price for $8 million a year at his age, not awful. So maybe that, but I'm not exactly sure. I mean, Saquon's up there.
Saquon, I think was like that was the most shocking. Like, I mean, I know that there was talks about it, but even you and me, like on our preview, were like, "There's no way." It's like you didn't think how he was going to pay him, how he's been frugal with the running back market.
Oh yeah.
And like Saquon tweeted in 2014 how he hates the Eagles. Okay, so all you guys just because he played for Penn State and grew up in Pennsylvania, his favorite team was the Jets. I know a lot about him. Okay,
yes.
Actually, I do want to just to get all the Saquon. We're going to get to it a little bit more. But I lived in Philadelphia. I remember talking to you about how like we're getting Saquon at 2. You're like, that's a terrible pick. Why would you get a running back at 2? I was like, I don't care. I'm sick of watching Paul Perkins. I want Saquon Barkley. I went to his first ever preseason game. And the first play of the game, he ripped off a 67-yard run. I was stoked. I mean, dude, Saquon Barkley was my guy. I used to pass around that freaking demonic doll every time he scored a touchdown. And I said, everybody has to kiss him or you're out of the house. I'm kicking you out of the house. When he was drafted, when I lived in Philly, I remember I'm in the computer lab. It's like finals season, right? Finals, college finals. And I'm like, yes, we got him. Because I'm trying to be quiet because I'm a respectful guy. We got Saquon. And I hear this asshole from the back of the room, don't even know this guy. Never talk to him. He's like, yeah, good luck when he tears his ACL on the first play. I was like, so you know what? I hope karma hits that guy so hard. Because guess what? Now he's yours. Okay? So there we go. I just had to get
I do love going through Twitter and trying to find all these New York Giants pages trying to cope. It's entertaining to say the least. But to answer, I think I guess maybe Henry to Ravens most shocking, but not shocking like in a bad way. I think Ridley to Tennessee is delusional. Unbelievable.
But for everybody who's like criticizing that move because he got paid as much as AJ Brown, which like is shocking. Like
different ownership.
You gotta give different ownership, and also like it was a little bit of an overpay, but like you're trying to surround Levis with the best situation. Like they address the line, they're giving him weapons,
You have to pay to play. I get it. I just don't know. Like Ridley, I liked Ridley in Atlanta, but then you take the year off. I don't think he's been the same receiver since Atlanta. But he
was very hot and cold last year with the Jaguars.
Yes, great opportunity nonetheless. And Tennessee certainly needed it. I thought they were gonna maybe they don't draft a receiver in the first round and they go after a tackle. So interesting.
Okay, so do you want to start? What team you want to start with here?
You tell me. I'll do any. Dallas. We can start with them because they signed no.
We can get through Dallas pretty quickly here.
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's start off with the Cowboys. The good old Cowboys. Well, I think the biggest news is that they've just lost everything. I believe the only thing that they did was sign their long snapper Trent Sieg in the first 2 days.
Yeah,
The big one, and I was going to grab this, but I forgot. The biggest move, obviously, I would say is Eric Kendricks coming in there. Like he's old, he's 32. They
yeah,
needed linebacker. I think that was one of their biggest needs with Leighton Vander Esch retiring.
right.
Um, but still, you signed a 32-year-old, for a 1 year deal. I was gonna say I have his autograph that I got from the draft in 2017.
Oh,
Um,
right.
but yeah, I mean it is, and what you got Trent Sieg, like that's it. Am I missing it? I mean, there's Tyron Smith, Stephon Gilmore, Jared Curse, Noah Igbinogamy,
CJ
Jonathan
Goodwin,
Hankins. What's up?
CJ Goodwin, cornerback.
Well, no, these guys are just all still unsigned. So like, there's I don't see Tyron Smith returning, especially with their limited caps. Those are just their free agents that are still unsigned. But the ones
Right.
that have departed, Dorrance Armstrong going to Washington, and honestly, Dorrance Armstrong, I don't think the Cowboys needed him and to pay him the money that he did get. He's getting about $11 million a year.
Yeah,
Um, they could cut him after 1 year for like $17 million, but he's going with Dan Quinn. He's only 26, freshly 26. He's had 8.5, 7.5 sacks the past few years. Like, I think that was somebody, when Dan Quinn went to the Commanders, knowing the cap situation, I feel like that was somebody that he wanted from the jump.
he's been okay. Yeah, he's been a good player for them. I don't want to quote myself on this. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, Dallas fans too. I think he could play defensive tackle too, but I'm
Yes, he
not.
can. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
He's for I liked I didn't root for him, but like he had good snaps for the Cowboys. So not a light loss for them, honestly, in my opinion. I get it though. Money, I mean they had no money.
yeah,
You can't like something like that, so I get
yeah.
it.
When you're already deep at edge,
Right.
well, I mean, like, he was versatile. And then Tyler Biotish, I was kind of surprised. He got a pretty good deal, 3
Yeah.
years, 29 million, also with the Commanders. So we could save really that, like, digging into that there, which is
Yeah.
a surprising move because they drafted Ricky Stromberg in the third last year. I liked him as a prospect, but I guess this means maybe they'll try him out at guard, or just maybe they see him differently in
Yeah,
this regime.
they have some options.
Tony Pollard getting a pretty modest deal, $7 million a year with the Titans. I live in Nashville, so I hear
Yeah.
all the Titans stuff. People are happy with it, like, because he struggled, like we were talking about. He struggled with that, like, dual role, or being the lead back, but he thrived in that dual role. And Tyjae
Yep.
Spears sounds like he's going to be the main, like, running back and for the Titans. So Tony Pollard will be more of that compliment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean, I would think so. I like Spears, but I get why they wanted something else. But you're giving Pollard 7-8 million. You have options running the ball, which is good in Tennessee. Maybe it works better for Pollard if it's split carries, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a lot. 8 million, I think, is a lot of money for a non-special running back. Kind of like
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift. Sorry, very good, did well here,
Well,
but I think
they got the same deals right around the same
yeah,
time.
I think 8 million for Swift a year is wild. But regardless, yeah, it's someone who who just left out. Who I think Dallas was banking on to get
Yeah.
be their back after Elliott, and just didn't happen that way for the
I
year that he was alone in that backfield. Just didn't look like
believe.
himself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I believe Elliott's still a free agent.
Is
I
he?
think he's a. Let me just double check this here. But I believe he is, because this is somebody who I'm like, I could see them like going to draft somebody and just bring. Oh yeah, yep, yeah, still. Oh no, the top thing is he is still a free agent, but the top article here is from a Cowboys the Landry hat. 3 free agents their Cowboys should sign instead of Ezekiel Elliott. So I don't think the Cowboys want him back. I'm sure there's some fans that just probably still have his jersey and that
I would
love
say
for
they want to get
what he once was. And I thought he was actually pretty solid in New England for the low expectations I had for him coming
I
into the
think that he was okay. Yeah, I thought he'd be a little better maybe with change of sceneries and kind of going off of Stevenson, mixing it up with him. Or Ramondre Stevenson was awful too, which didn't help. But I thought Zeke was okay in New England. Thought he'd be better, but maybe that's what he has. That they used him like crazy at Ohio State. Dallas ripped him apart the first 3 years in the NFL. Maybe just doesn't have much left, and this is what you're going to get out of him, which I guess is something.
Yeah, yeah. There's really, Neville Gallimore going to the Dolphins. You don't really care about that. He got a minimum deal, which kind of shows like what the NFL thinks of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't have that much cap space. They said they were going to be modest. They have been incredibly modest. I think they are like the laughing stock of free agency right now.
Yeah, but
because,
I think
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not to interrupt, but they are Dallas, so they're always going to take heat for that.
Yeah.
But I think that they're in this situation because they didn't manage the cap that well.
Yeah.
I think there are ways to be creative, which a lot of teams um, are able to do. Younger GMs who are more creative in moving around money. With the Giants, I think we've seen it with Shane.
Yep.
Howie, I think is probably the king of this. And when you have a guy like I get that Jerry isn't the books guy, and his son, I forget his first name. His son is doing that, but like, I think that they had options, and they just they don't use the cap to their advantage. And when teams don't do that, you're in the situation where it's free agency. You weren't good enough last year, and you don't have options. Now, I think in my humble opinion, the Eagles are a little different because they just had so much money that I don't think many teams can expect that. It hurt them during the season because they had a lot of bad players on their contract for even 1 year. But I think Dallas has just mismanaged their cap. We saw they had to trade away Amari Cooper because they mismanaged the cap 2 years ago. So it seems like another example of them not being woke with the trends in the modern NFL today. And you're just going to be left behind.
And I feel like the Saints were like the best of that. They made it seem like the cap didn't even exist, and then the Dolphins very much proved that the cap does exist, considering they got rid of their entire team this year.
Yes, the Bills as well. They
Bills too. Yeah,
it'll catch up to you, and yeah, hopefully it's guys who are a little older who have lost a step, who are just on bad contracts, but. There were some names for sure. I know.
Robert Hunt was the highest paid guard and probably the best guard in this draft. But he got the bag with Carolina.
Yes.
Just talking about the Miami departures. But going in, is there anything else you really want to talk about the Cowboys? I think. Sorry, I'm asking you that, but then I realized there's something I really want to bring up. They didn't even make an offer on Derrick Henry. Didn't even make an offer. Who I think only got like $8 million a year too. Like it's something like that.
Well, they might not have money. Like they might not be like they might not like know how to move around. Like I don't know. Yeah, he would have been interesting. He seems like a Dallas move, but I think Dallas is a little spooked at how I think they saw I think the biggest issue with Dallas last year is they had one dimension on offense, and that was throwing the football. And they didn't even have enough targets for that. They couldn't run the ball at all. So I think that maybe they're a little spooked that if Derrick Henry is cooked enough and isn't productive enough, the offense is going to look the same on the ground. But they also have nothing going on for them now. So who knows? I don't know.
Well, last year the Titans had probably the worst O-line in the NFL. Well, Giants definitely competed with that, especially with like Josh Azudu
injuries, and all that.
Exactly. But Derrick Henry was still efficient last year. And the Cowboys still having, yes, they'll probably lose Tyron Smith, but the rest of the pieces of the line are still, and they lost Tyler Biotish, but like center, I feel like with having, if you keep Tyler Smith and Zach Martin, two of the best guards in the league right now, you can put in like a below average center, and I feel like they'd probably be a little lifted with that. I just feel like I think that was like the move everybody predicted was the Cowboys were going to like get a premier running back. Maybe they're in love with Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. Like maybe they're trying to get that hometown guy, but
yeah, maybe. I mean, if Brooks sits with the ACL with him, he's going to be drafted in a round that's lesser than he should be regularly.
Yeah.
So even with stuff like that, you'll save some money there. But that's I wouldn't be surprised if Jerry's thinking that way to save every penny, but yeah, they're going to need to find a way to hit a home run with not many options when free agency left and draft too, because free agency, all the running backs wanted to get paid. So if they're
Mhm.
waiting, the salary cap for every team is going to go. So the running backs realize get paid now early on in free agency, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Dalvin Cook's probably but Dalvin Cook looked cooked last year.
yes, he looked like his last name.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Anything else for the Cowboys before we move on to the next team?
No, they're going to have to be creative in the draft, or I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. You know, there's still a lot of big names out there, but like I don't see them. Maybe they kick the tires on like a Curtis Samuel for a modest contract. Maybe they
Yeah,
get him to play running back.
no,
I mean,
yeah,
but but
that's
like I
how
thought that they would be because I believe also that there's a big news about Michael Gallup. I think he's either seeking a trade or something along those lines.
Yeah, he's seeking a trade. I don't know if many teams want to trade. That's the issue. You got to find a trade partner. I don't think they could afford Curtis, even though he hasn't signed. I think that he would be, unless maybe he does 1 year if he doesn't like the market this year. But he's too talented, in my opinion, to go for some flimsy Cowboys
Yeah.
multi-year deal. In my opinion,
Yeah. All right. You want to just get into it? You want to get into the New York Football Giants or what?
we can get into the New York Football Giants. Absolutely.
Okay, I figured since I think we're like the second smallest for signings. We could probably breeze right through this because I'm not going to talk about them at large like I always do. I totally will. So, all right. The New York Football Giants. Obviously, I think we talked enough about Saquon Barkley. It kills, it stings. Everybody who has an actual like mind of how football works with contracts and the value of running backs thought that was actually an amazing move to not even try. We didn't even offer him a contract. I heard
Right.
that we offered him like an hour before free agency started on Monday. Then I heard that we didn't offer him at all. I don't know. Regardless, Joe Shane obviously did not want him back for what
Right.
he was demanding. Um,
Which I agree too. I agree.
yeah,
I agree from both sides.
yeah,
I get why the Giants didn't want to bring him back. You really couldn't, and I get why Saquon Barkley didn't want to go back. So, kind of perfect for both sides in a way. Not the way it was handled, because the Giants could have been a little flexible last year, not giving Daniel Jones a contract. But we don't have to go into that in
yeah.
revision.
Hindsight's 2020, dude. I mean that kills me. That kills
Yeah,
me because obviously, like,
there were chances.
okay, the only thing that I could see upside of this is that not paying a running back and actually having a cheap running back. So the replacement that we got is the one that we talked about, the one that I was expecting from the jump. I'm surprised he wasn't replacing Matt Breida last year. Was Devin Singletary,
Yes.
drafted when Joe Shane and Brian Dable were with the Bills. He's been an efficient running back like
Yeah.
since he's been in the NFL. Like he's always around that 700 to 800 yard mark rushing.
Hmm.
Good average. He's not an explosive runner by any means. Like
Right.
he has some explosive runs here and there, but he's just a dependable. He'll get you those 4 yards on first and second downs and leave it in a good place for third. As much as I dreaded Devin Singletary, I like because we got him for cheap. We were paying him 3 years, 16 million. We can get out after 2 years at 11 million.
A lot of
He's
these contracts are 3 years, but they're
yeah,
really 2 years. 2 years
yeah,
guaranteed.
yeah,
Yeah.
2 years, and honestly, he's 27. So like by the time he's 29, like
The Giants.
I
Yeah.
yeah, I think we'll probably run our course with him.
Hmm.
But going into rather than signing like an Aaron Jones who like is often injured, Devin
Yep.
Singletary has been durable. He's been consistent. He's been reliable, which is Joe Shane's whole thing: smart, tough, dependable, all that jazz. Um, I love Devin Singletary, and honestly, all of our pickups have been healthy, like healthy players in the league that they are strong, smart, dependable. And honestly, the smart part is I think the contracts that we give them. I think that everybody that we have has been a good investment. But I guess
Mhm.
we can argue, because I think we talked about this. We didn't get into it. Uh, Brian Burns. Brian Burns. Like, I've been waiting to bring him up this entire time. Brian
Mhm.
Burns is somebody I loved. It's so weird because I always trade for these people on Madden, to have on my team, and they end up on my team. And
Right.
like Brian Burns is somebody I've always loved because he's that speed rusher. Physically, he is a freak. I don't think he's unlocked his potential. Last year, he had his least amount of sacks since he's been in the league, but I don't think he's gotten underneath 8 sacks since he's been in the league.
Mhm.
I believe he's going into his 6th year here. But one of the reasons why I didn't have as many sacks last year is because the defensive coordinator for the Panthers, who they retained even with the coaching change, had him like he rushed the passer for the fewest amount of times he's ever has. Like, he was dropping into coverage way too often.
Mhm.
And I think one of the reasons why we traded our second number 39, which is our original pick. We still have the Seahawks pick, which is 41 or 46, I believe. And then we traded our 5th round pick to in exchange another pick in between. Essentially, what we traded for Leonard Williams is what everybody's saying. Like, we traded Leonard Williams for those same picks that we traded for to get Brian Burns. We paid him a 5-year deal, up to 150, 76 guaranteed. I love this. I love this. Yeah, Brian Burns is still 26, I believe, going into the season. I think something
Something
in
like
there.
that. Mhm.
Yeah. And the way that Shane Bowen wants to attack on defense is to have our edge rushers rush the passer. Like, not like Wink Martindale, who blitzed all the time, but it was all these weird blitzes, and sometimes it's a safety, sometimes it's a corner. Joe Shane said in a presser, Shane Bowen is planning on rushing the passer and getting to the passer with our edge defenders, and having Kayvon, Dex, and Brian Burns. That is going to be amplified. Like, I am so excited. It's going to make Kayvon better. It's going to make Dex better. Dex is probably going to make Brian Burns better. Like, it's just like, it's one of those things you're building from the inside out. I love it. What do you think?
Good trade for the Giants. I texted you when it happened and said the second and 5th round don't really matter. That
No.
they're good picks, but you're not really losing anything with that. If it was a 1st round pick, I think I'd be a little. I still think it would be okay.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we're
first
not going
round,
to trade 6 for
first
that.
round pick is different. Yeah, I mean like a pick like not like your pick that's
Yeah.
like stuff. I mean like it's something like 17 or 18. That's just a little different. Um,
Mhm.
it has a lot of value of itself.
Yeah.
The real price is a 5 years, $150 million contract, 30 million per year ultimately, on average. You just need to be a $30 million pass rusher. That's a top tier line, with the Bosa's, uh,
Myles Garrett.
with Miles Garrett, T.J. Watt's higher, I think, but in the same class,
Yeah.
money wise, basically. Um, I like Brian Burns a lot. I think everybody does. I don't think the numbers reflect his play, not even just sacks. Overall, his numbers are oddly off for what you think they would be in his
Yeah.
tenure in the NFL. I imagine some of it might have to do with playing in Carolina the last few years.
Yeah.
You hate to say it, but I think it's tough to get you to play for a team that's so bad like that. Maybe not, but I think it's good for the Giants. They get a real defensive player and they can rush more strategically
Mhm.
instead of other things they were doing last year. Because I agree, I don't think they were like. I feel like you're going to get pressure from them a lot instead of just
Yeah.
like blitzing. Where
Yeah.
blitzing could be like knocked down the line of scrimmage by a talented offensive line. Like you're going to feel like they're going to get in the backfield, and whether or not they get sacks or
They're going to
whatever,
get the pressures.
they're going to get
Because that's the
pressure.
thing with him.
They're going
He
to get
has
around
a
the
lot of versatile
quarterback.
moves. Yeah.
Right. They're going to get around the quarterback, which is big. I've always said, and we'll talk about this with the guy the Eagles brought in with Bryce Huff. I want to see guys get pressures. The sacks will come, or someone else on your team will get sacks based on your pressures. I think that's a nice thing. And I think, yeah, like you said, Lawrence, Thibodeau, and now Burns should be a good trio for pressure, and
Yeah.
it should complement a lot of guys throughout the team on the defensive line, maybe the second unit too.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think, yeah, a lot of money, but it's a position that pays in that price range. So you know, that's not alarming itself.
Yeah. The way I see it too is these big pass rushers, they're not hitting the market. Like even Chris Jones, everybody's like, there's no way. KC found a way
Bro,
to keep Chris Jones. Like
yep,
Myles Garrett's not hitting the market. Brian Burns is probably like that next, and he could be like he has it. Like he has the physical tools. He was a top, I believe he was 16 or 17 in the draft in the first round. I loved him in that draft. Like physically, he was a freak. Like his numbers and like he's shown dominance. Even though he hasn't had all those, he had 12 and a half sacks 2 years ago. That was his best. Um, but like he hasn't had those dominant numbers. I think he could be an 18 sack guy. If you like, I think I could see him. That's why we're paying him that top notch.
yeah,
And the one thing that we haven't addressed because Adoree Jackson's still on the market. Maybe his
right.
market wasn't as good as he thought because he's been kind of like inconsistent, hurt.
Yeah,
Maybe we bring him back. Xavier McKinney, obviously, we let walk, and it was for that max deal to the Packers, my
yep.
girlfriend's team. So I guess I will be watching him a lot. I'm not going to like him as much, but you know, I wish we could retain him. I don't know.
He's good.
I don't know this cat. I feel like we could have retained him and had Brian Burns and all these other things.
I'll be completely honest with you, Sean. This isn't to
Yeah,
like get you to feel better or whatever. I mean, if it does, great. But like, this
yeah,
is Sean's opinion. McKinney wasn't returning to the Giants. Barkley wasn't returning to the Giants. I think those guys, and I think Joe Shane probably realized that too.
yeah.
And I mean, I definitely assume he did. And he said, "Let's move on from them. We're not going to compete." It's money wise too. I think that 17 million for a safety is just a lot. But you know,
Well, that
he's a
was
good
Joe
player.
Shane's thing. Yeah,
Right?
that's
He's a
his
good player.
philosophy. He's not paying a premium for non-premium positions, which I
Right.
agree with.
Not even just that. I think those two were just like, I'm not returning to New York. I need to change. And for, yeah, again, for their sake, I agree with that too. So I don't even think those guys were options for the Giants, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's fair. So we
Yeah.
covered Devin Singletary. Isaiah McKenzie, don't even like.
I'll
He's like
mention
one of
one thing
those.
on Singletary.
Yeah, continue.
Safe running back, 5'7". Again, my thing on feature running backs, if they're going to be RB1, oh, it's small. But good guy to have in your running back room for sure. And um, he's he's been solid throughout his career. Yeah,
Yeah.
not awful. Yeah,
I mean, he's healthy. He's a smaller back, but he's kind of like a power smaller back, you know,
yeah,
kind of bouncy. But
he's
he
got
also
some kick.
explodes, and he's a decent pass catcher too. Like that's how he's gotten over 1,000 yards the past
Right.
3 seasons, is because he can catch the ball and he's effective when doing so. Um, I think the biggest ones here, and this is what I've heard. This is the guy who I'm almost like the most excited for because I wanted Michael Nwenu. Michael Nwenu, the guard, tackle, versatile, whatever. He got, I think it was like 19 million a year on average, something around
Mm-hmm.
there, around that
For
20
the
million.
Patriots, for the
Just
Patriots too,
for
right?
the Patriots. So he
Yeah.
returned to the Patriots. But we got probably one of the biggest deals I've seen it on all across networks, PFF, ESPN, NFL. A lot of people are saying that Jermaine Illuminor was one of the biggest ones. And we signed two offensive linemen. Jermaine Illuminor has been playing right and left tackle the past 2 years with the Raiders with our O-line coach, Carmen Brasillo. I know that I said that if we don't get Michael Nwenu, this is the guy that I want. Like,
Yeah.
because he can play he's played guard, he's played both guards positions, he's versatile, but he's been one of the most reliable tackles too. Like he's very underrated, and we got him for 2 years, 14 million. Like, and so whatever you think, that's a great like swing lineman. But I think there's going to be Evan Neal starting at the start of camp. If Evan
Right.
Neal's struggling, I wouldn't doubt that Jermaine Illuminor takes that job from the jump, and they try to see what they have at Evan Neal at the guard. So he could do
Yeah.
that, or he could play guard and help out with either. I would probably put him at guard next to Andrew Thomas because he's not a true guard, and
Mhm.
probably put John Runyon to help out Evan
Yep.
Neal. But I mean, what a steal! 29 years old, he's super stoked to be a Giant. Like he has like I think 20 tweets since he's got signed. He's like so excited. He's talking about how he's going to get better. The Giants are his favorite team. He comes from the UK. I remember seeing the post like as soon as he got signed. I was like, wow, NFL UK really likes the Giants right tackle pickup. But he's a Giants fan because the Giants was the first team to play in London against the Dolphins, and he loved that. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't somebody who was on my radar because I'm not looking at every team's offensive line. But like once free agency preview, like everything about him, his grades, his run back and pass blocking, like he's somebody that I definitely wanted, and I'm excited. Like 29 years old, tackles play into like can play a few years into their 30s. So, and we have him for 2 years, so we'll see how that works.
Tackles, you can get a lot of these guys. I don't know why or how, but 36, 37. It's 37, it drops, but like some of them can still play
Yeah.
decently enough at 37. It's pretty wild. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that signing too.
And the only thing too is like that you worry about with that age coming up is durability, and he has been durable. Like he hasn't had any significant injuries. Like he's played around the league. We got him in a steal. He seems like he has that good like effort, and he's just a powerful human being. He's just a powerful, like in everything that you see, he just throws people along, run blocking, pass blocking. And then the other one, which was the bigger deal, the John Runyon Jr., son of Eagles great. I know that Michael Strahan was stoked about this. I don't even know if he tweeted about Saquon Barkley. I think he was trying to distract it with the John Runyon Jr.
Yes.
Pickup. But yeah, I like John Runyon. Surprising that he's coming off his rookie deal and being 27. I guess like he was kind of a later. He's a little older when he went.
Yeah, he might have been 5 years in Michigan.
Yeah, but 3 years, $10 million is pretty solid for I think the tier right below like the premier guards that got paid like $20 million a year.
For a starting guard,
yeah,
sounds like a great deal.
Yeah,
anyone who's a good guard in my book should be making at least 6, probably more closer to 8 million. But yeah. So I like that deal too. Not to interrupt. He was someone I had circled for the Eagles for their empty guard spot. I don't think they were going to put money towards it, which I understand, but I think it would have been a good fit. He's played both guard spots in Green Bay, which is good. Good for him, and for his versatility for the Giants now. He's a good player. He got a lot of experience early on with the Packers, where he was just playing either guard spot. So I like him. He has family royalty in the NFL, of course, and pretty cheap in my opinion. I don't know. It's just me. If it's really 3 years, 10 million.
3 years, 10 million, yeah. And it's also one of those where they can get out after 2 years. So it's the average 10 million, but it doesn't really, it looks like it's just 10 million throughout.
Right.
Which is decent. But I do, Bobby Skinner, who does a great job with Talking Giants, he, as soon as he got signed, so 2021, 2 sacks, 3 QB hits, 15 pressures. 2022, 3 sacks, 3 QB hits, 11 pressures. 2023, 2 sacks, 6 QB hits. So that was his worst year. But I think he, worst year, but 13 pressures. Still, he hasn't given up more than 2 sacks. And he's also ranked 7th in 2023 for guard pass blocking efficiency, 10th in 2022, and 8th in 2021. So in terms of a pass blocker, which I don't know who we're going to have back there, but our offensive line was in shambles. Like we addressed 2 positions that I think will be starting for the Giants next year. Like plug 2 holes. I think my thought prior to free agency is maybe at our top second round pick, we get an edge rusher like a Chris Braswell, or we get a guard. But like that's because those were our 2 biggest needs. We addressed them in free agency, and now we can just do best player available. Seeing how cornerback shakes up, seeing it running back, you can get a good one in the later rounds too. But it's exciting. That's pretty exciting for me. Like obviously we'll see if they might fall apart. Like everything that we're projecting them, they might be completely different players. Like
they are New York. They are now New York Giants. So there's
it's tough, dude. The track record hasn't been good, But,
yeah, yeah. They I don't know what much more to add. I know. Yeah, McKenzie, who I don't know will make the team, but definitely a camp body for now.
Yeah.
Um,
Jalen Mills.
Jalen Mills too.
Jalen Mills, I don't even know. So he's 29. He's going to be 30 when the year starts. I
1 year
can't find
deal.
his like contract like anywhere. Actually, wait, what is it? I think
I just know it's a 1 year deal. I assume it's
it's
not
like
guaranteed.
I think it's vet minimum.
Yeah, I think it's
It's
a
like
camp body kind of
yeah,
thing.
vet minimum. So I mean, he's not going to be replacing Xavier McKinney by any means. Like he's going to be a body towards the safety position. Obviously, won the Super Bowl with the Eagles. I think it's cool though
So,
because Brian Burns is like Spider-Man. That's his like nickname, and Jalen Mills is the Green Goblin. Did
yes,
Joe Shane do it on purpose? He's like vet minimum, and this is going to look pretty good with the press. So I don't know.
Gotham
Um,
City.
yeah, yeah. Wait, no, Gotham's not Spider-Man, right?
Well, it's Batman, but it's the play on all these
Yeah.
characters and then
Oh,
New
that's true.
York.
Yeah, and New York is Gotham. Yeah, fair, fair,
Yeah.
fair, fair. Sorry, dude. I'm actually not a big Marvel guy. I'm more of a
It's all right. Listen, I'm not.
Star Wars.
I don't have the most knowledge on that either.
Other big departures: Ashawn Robinson, who I really liked. He got 3 years, 23 million. He was just good, especially with Leonard Williams off. I think the only actual effective like defensive tackle that got snaps that's on our rosters, other than Dexter Lawrence, is Jordan Riley, who was our
Mhm.
fifth or sixth round pick, who I really liked in the preseason, and then played well in his limited snaps. Other than that, I guess Drew Lock. I don't know if you have any thoughts on Drew Lock
I
signing
love
for a one year $5 million deal. Obviously, he was in the same draft as Daniel Jones. That was somebody who they thought they could go either way. At 6, I liked Drew Lock in the second round over Daniel Jones in the first. Didn't really love either of them. Now they're on the same team. His speech almost made me cry when he won last year with Seattle. He's a kind of a gangster. We're paying him nothing. Tyrod got like much bigger money with the Jets, and like it
it.
just wasn't going to work.
Trust
It's not like Drew Lock is we like. Okay, I'll give you my thoughts, and you tell me where I'm wrong or right.
Okay.
Drew Lock, cheap. Like we wanted Jameis for $8 million, which I would have loved Jameis because he's also super cool.
Yes.
Um, but hopefully our backups don't even play. And like if they do have to play, our season's probably already shot. Drew
True.
Lock, still young, really hasn't had a full like development to really show what he's done. Like he's shown enough, which is why he's a backup.
Yeah.
But seeing what Brian Dable did with Josh Allen, obviously a little different, but even Tommy DeVito turning him to a winning quarterback for that stretch, like Drew Lock is somebody he might be able to unlock, perhaps. And I'm not expecting him to, but he's
Yeah.
young and he has that ability, like maybe having a Geno Smith type arc. But also, I hope he's not our quarterback. But no, I'll let you.
Yeah, I think you're right for the most part. It's just tough. You never want to sign a guy who's could really compete with your starting quarterback because you have an issue if you don't have a quarter. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one kind of thing.
Yeah,
So yeah, he has experience in the NFL. He's young. He's cheap. That's sort of what you're looking for in a backup. You'd want someone a little better, but then you're kind of the locker room's a little divided. It's a really tough situation because a lot of teams I think want to like. I know the Eagles are interested in Justin Fields, which I think makes a lot of sense. But then you have like locker room issues and like how far do you go in talent with your backup? I think Drew Lock is fine. It doesn't move the needle for them for winning, but I think
no,
it is what it is. You get experience. He's cheap. Um, he has some skill. I said it before going into the Seattle game. And I'm embarrassed the Eagles still lost that game, but that's how the end of the season went for them.
yeah,
Drew Lock in some ways can compete just as much or just as well as Geno Smith last year.
yeah.
Like
He has a rocket arm. He has a rocket arm. I think that
bro,
he,
he's got a
he
cannon
makes
with the
bad
help.
mistakes. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, he's got to put some things together. He has to get coached up. It is what it is kind of signing. I don't think you can be too upset. I don't think you can be too stoked. It's
yeah,
just, one of those kind of things.
yeah. And also just to kind of wrap things up with that, I mean
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Renan, who is like the number one beat reporter for the Giants for ESPN, he said the Giants are still very Like, this does not take away from them trading up to get a quarterback. And all of the rumors are the worst kept secret at the combine is that the Giants are willing to trade up for a quarterback. Also, another article came up today that Giants are already, like, the beat reporters on the league are leaking that the Giants are, Joe Shane is contacting all the teams ahead, trying to see where they can move. I don't know, because the only spot I really see is the Patriots. Maybe they go Marv Harrison, and then you trade up with the Cardinals, or if the Cardinals want Marv, trade up with the Chargers. I know they want to trade back, or you just trade with the Patriots themselves. I don't know.
The problem is, if you're doing that, you're not going to be able to get Caleb Williams.
No, it'd be for Jaden Daniels, who I actually really like a lot.
Right. I like him. I think he's good. I like him more than Drake. I think ceiling wise with Jaden Daniels, it's not as high, but he's talented.
Yeah, I mean, I like he's very similar to Lamar. I think that he showed more arm talent in college. Some people say otherwise, but he's actually more of a traditional pocket passer too. But we'll get into that in the draft videos. But I like Jaden a lot, Jaden Daniels. I don't know. Did you hear that honking, by the way?
Yeah, I thought that was over me.
Every day at 5:30, this woman picks somebody up and she just slams the horn. It's like, dude, have you ever heard of the phone? Like what do you like?
So
I was like, can you not do that every day at 5:30? It's like, come on, don't they know it's 5:30 and get out of the house, dude? Oh my gosh, I hate it. Okay, let's go. I guess we'll save like the biggest free agency in the Commanders for last, and we'll get to your Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's officially Howie season. This is what the Eagles do. They somehow have $43 million in salary cap money. Thank you, cap going up too. And they just make a big splash. It's Howie's Howie. They first signed Bryce Huff, who was an undrafted free agent for the Jets. He is 25. He only has 14 and a half sacks in his career, but he had 10 last year. Pressure-wise, he's been top 5 in all the pressure gained to the quarterback stats, which
Pressure
is
rates,
cool. Efficient rates too. They're really banking on last year being a turning year for him, which in a lot of ways makes sense, but it's also a bit risky. If he is productive, $17 million a year for starting very good defensive end who, let's say, gets 15 sacks is very underpaid, kind of like Hassan Reddick from 2 years ago. So that'll be interesting if that happens, how they handle that, because they kind of mishandled Hassan after the first year. But I like Bryce Huff. They're going to have to trade Josh Sweat now, which I'm fine with because he didn't have a sack in his last 7 games or 8 games. He is not that versatile when it comes to rushing the quarterback, getting after the quarterback. Is quick, but not as powerful because he's a little more lean, so can get bodied a lot at the line. A lot of times he'll just run straight at, like, there's so many Eagles who will just like run straight into the line. It just get like stopped immediately, and then they'll just like be like I don't know how to, like, ants like fighting for positioning and not moving.
Yeah.
So I guess Sweat's on the move. I like Bryce Huff. A little risky, of course, for the main act. They then follow that with Saquon Barkley. I originally texted you when we were texting when this happened, and I said it is risky. I do still think it's risky. Being able to sleep on it for 48 hours, it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. When you have a lot of good pieces on offense and you can add to it with a guy like Saquon, it helps everybody. I think it definitely helps Jalen the most. Having someone who can run behind him, having someone who can catch out of the backfield legitimately, someone who could block rushers in pass protection, which is not, we didn't have that. Our best running back pass blocker was.
Yeah, I believe he had 97, like a 97 PFF grade in pass blocking, which was like one of the best. So
yeah,
you good.
So that's nice. Swift gave us nothing with that. And I think in today's NFL too, not just for the Eagles, every team needs to have out of their running. You have to be able to pick up a blitzer as a running back. It's not sexy. It's not fun work for them, but it's part of the game. And it's just something you have to do. Yeah. So that's great. he is a home run hitting machine. We saw it in New York when healthy. Whenever he breaks one, and he punishes guys at the first level, guys in the second level, and third levels as well. With a safety taking one slight bad turn or just one step too slow in positioning, at or with any angle, he's special. Now he has had some injuries. Um,
He got his head ripped off earlier.
yes, he got decapitated by Sean an hour ago. So I don't
Yeah.
even know he might have to retire now. Um, he does a little critique just off of his play. He does. You could probably attest to this too.
Yes.
He dances around a little bit more than I think he should, and there's some plays, some games where he nothing has worked. So like he'll just have like 3 carries in a row where he'll lose like 3-4 yards and just flop
Yeah.
down. Hopefully that has to do with the Giants offensive line. I think some of it is still you still take it in because that's sort of how you get the home run hitter that he is. So they paid for him $13 million. It's certainly money. I think they had a better option though this year with the cap going up. I think having a difference maker at the running back position is huge for this Eagles team. I don't think they had it with Swift last year. Swift was good, even pretty good to very good, just not enough what I think they needed. And Saquon Barkley is a special running back. Eh, it's nerve wracking. I like that he doesn't kill you in the cap the first year. That's great. Um, I think I saw a stat where the cap hits for the Eagles with Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley is like 36 million, and then Dak's at like 59.
Well,
So
the mismanagement, like you said, because they're
right
4 million in this first year. So what that means? So that means what next year? I don't know what the whole total breakdown is.
for Saquon.
Because
Next
he gets a guaranteed 26 mil.
next year, I think
I
he
mean,
goes
I'm
against the cap
yeah,
15. I think maybe you can move, but I don't know. Yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's something the Eagles have not paid running backs in 10 plus years, and it really has worked out for them. It is a position where you can devalue a lot. So I won't pretend that that's not the thing. I won't pretend the injury stuff isn't a concern. Um, Hopefully they'll just be, hopefully his carries can go down a little bit because there are a lot of guys who can eat in this offense. And I think that he's a kind of guy, regardless of what New Yorkers would say about him, I think that a true professional who will put the team first. I think he did that a lot in New York, which had to have been tough in a lot of different times during the season. But he seems like a team first kind of guy. You'll have to monitor him. I'm not gonna lie. You got to keep him upright. It's sexy. It's intriguing, but there's still concerns on my end. But I get it that the Eagles wanted to buck the trend this year, and I just hope that they have more of a plan to protect him than just overall
Well,
ideas and themes of being like, let's just be safe with it. Like something that's a little more
they're just using him as a home run hitter. You're talking about
right.
more using him. So Saquon Barkley
Yes.
was
What
once
is
one of
this
my
part three?
was what a, was well no I no now I'm getting into like how he
Oh,
actually
okay.
plays. So 2021 obviously off the ACL. I
Yes.
think he was still trying to be explosive, like home run hitting Saquon, with a bad O line and a
Yeah.
terrible offensive coordinator that got fired with Jason Garrett. And
Mm-hmm.
he had he looked like garbage. Like he looked
Yeah.
like, why would we keep him? Then first year under Brian Dable, had another Pro Bowl season, looked closest he did to his rookie year, fully healthy
Yeah.
essentially for that entire season. And also Brian Dable moved him towards that like north south. Like it wasn't as much cutty and jumpy. Like yes, he was trying to get that home run, and when he breaks through, he would. But he was more north to south under Brian Dable. So I'm curious if he carries that over with Nick
Yeah.
Sirianni
Yeah.
and everything going over there. Um, like his durability, it sucks. It sucks, and like he's somebody who I've watched just that's the biggest thing. Is like that's why this is the riskiest thing. Is his durability. If
Mhm.
Saquon's healthy, he's going to be a superstar. Like he had 3.8 yards per carry last year. You know what? I know that sounds awful. It's because he got stuffed so many times because their O line sucked.
Right.
But when he actually got through and had solid blocking, he was explosive. He carried the team for so many wins. He's what made the Giants watchable. And
Yes.
now to see everybody being like, okay, now with an actual offensive, he's going to be like the second pick in fantasy this year. Like everybody's excited about Saquon.
Right.
I obviously want him to die. But no, I don't. I like he's a good person. He always was like such an avid professional.
Right.
But yeah, I hate you and you're dead to me, Saquon. But also, like the way I see it too is like you guys gave him the Christian McCaffrey contract. So I wonder if that's you guys
Yeah.
trying to value, because if there's anybody in the league right now who I think has the capability of being explosive in the pass game, run game, it's Saquon Barkley. Like it is if you're projecting fully healthy Saquon Barkley with an awesome O line, like you see him, there's a chance he surpasses Christian McCaffrey, which hurts me. But I feel like that's why they bucked the trend and they paid that money.
Yeah, I've seen this comparison with McCaffrey a lot. It's similar in some ideas. I don't want to sell. It's really hard for me in trying to define Saquon Barkley, and I really don't mean this as an insult. The Eagles are just banking on him to be so. They're just banking on him to be so much better with a competent coach, uh, coaches in offensive line than what he had in New York. And to me, it makes it's just like it's so scary because like he averaged like 3 yards after contact last year per run, which is very good. So that's him as a good player. I just still think it's risky. Like I get it. New York was awful. His own line was awful historically for his career. He is with the injuries though, and he had 27. It's like I just wish they had him earlier in his career without the New York Giants. And I think that you're really
Ouch,
banking on
bro.
him. You're really
Ouch.
well, you know, you're really banking on him to be so much better because he's not behind that offensive line, and it makes sense. I agree. I think he should be, but like, to what extent is the question with everything that's happened beforehand up to this point with his health and health ultimately. We'll see. I think that's. I'm hoping that that's the biggest answer, but who knows ultimately.
Yeah, I think going back to the Bryce Huff, somebody who I wanted the Giants to target because I didn't think
Yeah.
Brian Burns was going to be available. I guess there's somebody from Big Blue Panther, Chris. I'm totally forgetting his name, but he had inside sources that Brian Burns was going to be traded to the Giants like a week before free agency even happened. So like it was something because his franchise tag is one where you can negotiate with other teams, so it's kind of like
Yes.
kind of testing the market, but also for that trade.
What is that, like
But
a
Bryce Huff,
transition tag or something like that?
it wasn't a transition tag, but it's like a restricted or unrestricted type
Got it.
franchise. Yeah, something like that. I wish I did a little bit more digging into that, but yeah, Bryce Huff, man, like he had 10 sacks. It is a limited like
Yeah,
rotational pass
like
rusher. So
40%
I
of
mean,
snap, right?
yeah, I mean that's I mean, you guys still have Josh Sweat in the books, right? So it's going to be
We
Hassan,
do.
Josh,
We
and
do.
Bryce. You think this is a move? Like after this year, you think Sweat's gone?
Oh, I think Sweat's gone this year. I think they'll move him this year. I
They're going
think
to
that
trade him.
I don't know. I don't know if you saw the reports. Apparently, at the end of the year, Sweat wasn't
Uh,
like listening to the coaches and stuff like that. And he is such a frustration. He is such a frustrating player to watch at defensive end. It's funny because he was drafted in the fourth round. Would have been higher if he didn't have injury history throughout. I guess end of high school, early into college too. And he was really productive off that fourth round, money, which makes sense. And he was good. And then they paid him, and a little, I don't know. It's just like he's still a good player, but he just doesn't have. He relies so much on speed and nothing else. And like there are times where it's like he'll pass tackle, and then he won't know what to do because he got there so quickly or something. But I think they move. I think they move on from Sweat. I think it'll be Huff and Reddick, Nolan Smith sprinkled in
Yeah,
there.
Nolan Smith too. That's the thing too. Like Nolan Smith's
Which is
first round pick for you guys.
right. Maybe
Yeah.
they draft another defensive end. Um, of course, you have Brandon Graham as your
Yeah.
defensive end, so he'll give you some limited juice too. So yeah, I think they move on from Sweat ultimately, but we'll see. It's going to be. I think he has more value than Reddick because he's younger. Although I think Reddick's a better player, but you're also going to have to give Reddick a new contract. I think so. It's messy. I think Sweat. I think they move him ultimately.
Fair. Man, CJ is
Yeah,
back, dude. After talking all that shit about Philadelphia and their fans and their people in their city.
it's
Um,
funny. It's funny too,
yeah.
not to interrupt, but just because
No,
like
no,
I've
go.
always been a fan who like I don't really care what players say about like stuff in like those emotional stages. Like everybody in this city gets offended, which is stupid. Who cares? You know, if like it's nice he apologized. I guess he should apologize for like like move
He
on.
jokingly apologized. I mean, like, dude, he's a menace. CJ is one of the biggest
He
trash
he's
talkers in the
different.
NFL.
He is different in a good way, and he is different in a bad way. He's a little weird. Um, yeah, he comes back on a deal that is more than what they were offering him last year. Although we have to see the details on guarantees, signing bonuses, etc.
Yeah,
3
I
years.
don't think that's been out yet.
Yeah, no, I
As
don't
far as
think
I
so
see.
either. 3 years, 33 million. 11 million, around 30 to 35 million less than what um, McKinney got ultimately in Green Bay. So I think in that way it makes a lot of sense and worth. Um, but they're good. They're going to need him to be what he was in Philadelphia, which is a ball hog and someone in a playmaker in the safety position. Um, I don't. He was injured towards the end in Philadelphia. He had like a lacerated kidney, freak injury. Not concerned about that. He had some injury, some maybe a pec injury in Detroit last year, which isn't great. But um, I think as a safety, he is average to above average. Didn't cost too much, and you needed a safety. You need a veteran safety. He's familiar with this kind of defense because Gannon copies off Fangio's style with defenses. So I think it makes sense. He just needs to make plays at the safety position. So hopefully he does.
Yeah. Some of these some of these other signings from you guys I
Yeah,
wasn't actually fully aware of until I started like really going into because
yeah.
it is kind of like Madden with all these changes. You guys had some really interesting ones now that I'm back on this page. Devontae Parker for your 1 year flyer. You know, I feel like Devontae Parker was still. I mean, he's gonna be your probably wide receiver 4. You're hoping, you
I
know.
would hope so. There's a few ways to think about this. You would hope he would be wide receiver 4. Problem is, they probably signed him to be wide receiver 3. Now they only owe him $1 million, and I assume he probably won't even make the team. But it's a good guy to sign to get a legitimate tryout with this team who's looking for
Yeah.
someone to fill the wide receiver 3 position. So I'm happy about that. They don't have to keep him, which is good. He's been last in separation rate. I don't know if you saw the meme, Sean, but he's been last in separation as a wide receiver for 4 years in a row. That doesn't bother me as much because there
He's
are
a
a lot of
contested catch guy.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like Amari Cooper was like bottom five too, and like there are ways around that. Now it would be nice if they could get separation, but we've also seen receivers who get a lot of separation and can't catch the ball. So there's that too. The only thing that I don't love about Devontae Parker is, God, he's been in the league for like 9 years and he's averaging like 3 touchdowns a year. He only had like one good year in Miami, I think. He's never really found himself. Um, I guess it's a good problem to have. It'll be a tryout. His spot's not guaranteed. I would even assume that he wouldn't make the team at this point. But go out there, give it a go. We'll see what he can offer because we're craving for someone to go down the middle of the field or someone. It's nice he's versatile too and can play outside, but he'll get a fair shot, and we'll see. There is talent.
Yeah, and then the other names, you got Nicholas Morrow leaving,
Thank
replace
you.
him essentially with Zach Bond, who Zach Bond was a second round pick, I believe,
Yeah.
second or third round pick by the Saints, and I feel like he's just had a middling career, nothing
Yeah.
impressive. 71
Yeah.
grade from PFF last season,
Yep. Done
kind
nothing,
of
but
a depth guy, I guess.
having someone pick up Moreau and having the Eagles not sign him is, oh my god. Nicholas Moreau is so
He had
bad.
that really good game last year, though, right? Where he had like 3 sacks.
Yes,
Like
early in
that.
the
Yeah,
season.
yeah,
And then in terms of coverage, I wouldn't wish that
yeah,
on my worst enemy. But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Anybody else you want to talk? Oh, Temple's own
I was
Temple
about to
Owls,
mention
both
someone.
Temple Owls. Matt
Yes,
Hennessy, you
Matt
take it away,
Hennessy.
man. Yeah,
Well, it's nice, obviously, Temple blood here between both of us.
yeah, hmm
Matt Hennessy went to Temple, was a center. A lot of NFL teams are really, really excited about him as being a solid NFL starting center for their team. He's been injured, has solidified himself, I think, basically as a guard in Atlanta, and going
yeah.
forward. Um, Good depth piece, cheap piece, too. Only 1 year. Um, I think he still has the versatility of going back to center. Maybe I don't know. I don't mind it. I think it's okay, um, and hopefully he can stay healthy. I guess.
Yeah, you guys also got Julian Aquara, I see, but I didn't see
Yeah.
what the contract was.
This was this was like 3 weeks ago. I think. I don't
Oh,
know.
so it's one of those like pre-free
Yeah.
agent type
Yeah.
deals.
Intriguing kind of guy. I'm surprised he hasn't figured it out yet. I don't know if, to be honest, it's not an Eagles thing where they've
Yeah,
struggled for a few years early, and then they figure it out in Philly as an edge rusher, or whatever he is,
yeah.
outside linebacker. But we'll see. He's
Ex-Giant, right? Yeah, it's his brother Romeo, who's the Lions guy.
yeah,
Yes, yeah.
who
Julian was the
who's a good
ex-Giant who
one,
was never put it together. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So we'll see. Another guy, it feels like Devontae Parker, someone who will get a fair shot at a position that, if it works out, they will make the team and
yeah.
could be a nice contributor here and there.
Yeah, and then Landon Dickerson, obviously, extension.
Big
84
extension.
million
Yeah.
extension. Max
Wow.
value of 87, 50 mil guaranteed. How do you feel
Yeah.
about
Yeah, he's been terrific. He has the accolades, 2 Pro Bowls, even though Pro Bowls I think are gonna not gonna age as well going forward. They were legit Pro Bowls to say the least.
that? Yeah.
He's great. You had to pay him now. The cap's going to go up next year too, so maybe that even makes it look better. But he's been fantastic, and you had to put the money towards him. Expensive. He he got a bag,
Yeah.
especially as a guard. But I think we've seen over the last like 5 to 7 years how starting nickel cornerbacks are going to make a little more money. They're still not making cornerback like starting outside money, but they've emerged as a starting position in the NFL that can make real coin. And I think we're seeing the NFL move towards guards
Guard.
making significant money too. If
And
they're that.
especially, yeah, I mean, and he is definitely one of the better ones. And the
Yeah.
Panthers who signed the biggest one that was actually going to hit free agency, Robert Hunt, and I
Yes.
believe they also signed Jonah. No, they didn't sign Jonah Jackson. They signed that other guard. Oh my gosh, but they signed 2 of the higher name guards
Yes.
for the Panthers, which was smart because they invested at both left and right tackle in the
Yeah.
draft. So like they want to let those guys kind of breathe, similar to how we had like we weren't really going for a tackle. I think Jermaine Illuminor was like for the value worked
Mhm.
out. But I think like O-line units, the Giants when we won those Super Bowls, those O-line units were consistent and they
Yeah.
stuck together and they were healthy. Like I think people want to invest more in the units, and if that's strengthening at guard,
Yeah.
yeah,
You have to protect your quarterback now more than ever. A lot of money goes towards it in more ways than just paying the quarterback itself. You get them top receivers, you get them top tackles, you get them top guards, top centers. It is what it is. So, and it's just another example of keeping your quarterback upright. it's the two guys in the middle of the offensive line.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about these Eagles before we move on to the Commanders?
Um, I would love a linebacker. I thought Pat Queen went for a very modest contract. I thought we could have splashed in on that. Um, right now,
What about
it's not looking great at the line. We have injured Nakobe Dean, and we're probably going to have to bring back Zach Cunningham. So it's just not very inspiring there. Otherwise, I'm happy, content. Um, yeah,
what
let's.
about? It's funny because you know who did invest and got some pretty good steals at linebacker were the Commanders. But
Yes, that could be a
man,
good transition point.
all right, the Washington Commanders. A lot of people say have won free agency. They're definitely one of the hottest teams. They made a lot of great value signings of big name splash players. They also made a lot of smart economical decisions at players with upside that are a little bit younger, which is, I think, exactly how you want to address this. If you
Mm-hmm.
are the Commanders, having all that cap space, I feel like they still have more moves that they can be making, especially like at cornerback. Cameron Curl, who knows if he'll be back because they brought in Jeremy Chin.
I
They
don't
got a
think
lot of splash. I don't think he's gonna be back
because
with
of the chin
Jeremy Chin,
signing. Yeah,
but Chin too. I mean, I don't even know where you want to start here. I think maybe we go biggest names. I think the best deal or the biggest player, the biggest impact player that they got to start off was either Dorrance Armstrong or Frankie Louvu. Which one do you want to start with?
I think it's probably Louisville. Yeah,
I think Louvu too. Louvu was somebody who I feel like had kind of a slower start to his career, but over the past 2 years, 3 years, he has been an impact linebacker. He can rush the passer, he can get those sacks. Very versatile, goes into coverage. They give him a 3-year, $31 million deal. He's going to be 27, 28 in the season. So he's going to be playing into his 30s under this contract, and they're replacing David Mayo and Cody Barton with Frankie Louvu and also Bobby Wagner on a 1-year deal, who, despite his age of being 34 going into next season, he played like almost all of the snaps last year. Like he played as the main linebacker. Frankie
yeah.
Louvu, what do you want to talk about?
Um, it definitely seems like new ownership for sure. I like they lose Curtis Samuel, who I think is a loss. Even though I think they need to reshape the receiver room. I don't know how. Maybe it's a cost of Curtis Samuel, but it is a loss. Um, Antonio Gibson sucks, so that's kind of people are writing him down as like being a nice piece for New England. I don't think it's a big loss. Eckler's intriguing.
Mhm.
Guy, I don't know if he has much in the knees department, but he's if he does have some juice left, he can be okay. I think.
For $4 million a year, I mean that is a
Yeah,
steal. Like
yeah,
a steal. Like
yeah,
they got such value. Like they had the money to spend, they got the value. Like Austin Eckler, man. Like
yeah. He will be
yeah,
29 injured, so we'll see. Um, obviously, they lose Brissett. They bring in
yep.
Marcus Mariota, which I baffling how he this guy's raking all the money. They bring in Jeremy Chin. We'll see. It's hard. I don't know if I would say Cameron Curl's better, who maybe the Eagles are looking at right now. I don't know, but it's interesting that they go from Cameron Curl to Jeremy Chin. I think Jeremy Chin hasn't been the guy that they thought. Obviously, I don't think he was the guy that the Carolina thought that they were drafting. So
That
maybe,
rookie year though, like he was
yeah,
second
that was
in
good.
votes for defensive rookie of the year. Like, and then I think like Carolina's just kind of been a mess with utilization and everything. Like, I would
Yeah,
take it's a 1-year deal, $4 million. Like that's nothing for somebody who's still he's 26. Like he's still young, has a lot to prove. I love that signing. Honestly, I think that's a pretty exciting one.
I think it's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay. Let me see what the deal is. Oh, a year,
Yeah,
4 million. Yeah,
so it's a 1-year flyer, 4 million. Yeah,
I think it's fine. It's just interesting because I think Cameron Curl's also Cam Curl's a good player too. So like it's interesting just because it's not like they're replacing like a bad safety. They chose him over Cam Curl, which is interesting because I think Cam Curl's a pretty solid player. But alas, Brandon McManus, Temple. I feel like we have to bring that up. Um,
And a good kicker.
Yes, they brought in Zach Ertz as well, who's old. I don't know what they're going to do with him.
That's a minimum contract. I mean, like you replace the more. I think the bigger story with the Zach Ertz thing is that that essentially says that they're letting Logan Thomas go, who's also old. I mean, he's 32, so it's like
they're both.
He's been injured frequently as of late. Like, you know,
Kendall Fuller moves on. They bring in Nick Allegretti, the guard from Kansas City, who I think wasn't originally a starter, but then started in the Super Bowl to replace Thuney, maybe.
Tooney, yeah, I believe, and I guess he played injured too and was tough, and like Chiefs fans, I think they're
you're right.
We can get rid of him, but like they also are like, yeah, he's a good pickup. He's a good pickup. I mean, 28. I mean, they gave him pretty decent money for somebody who isn't like a solidified starter at guard. But I think the Tyler Biadasz, like I mentioned, I really like that pickup for him. Like I said, I thought that maybe they didn't see enough from Ricky Stromberg, but third round pick last year, I feel like you get a center in the third round. I feel like you expect him to be in the running for a starter their second year, but I guess they're obviously going to be investing at quarterback in this draft. Unless by some shocker they get Marvin Harrison and trade for Justin Fields, which I just don't see happening. It doesn't sound like that's what's going on.
By the way, I know
this
is off topic. Some of these wouldn't you trade a 5th round pick for Justin Fields if you're a bad team?
Yeah, I think that's I think that's kind of where it's at.
Right.
Like, that's for like a backup, but like, dude, the Giants, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree with what you're about to say.
I know a lot of people are like, okay, well, dude, I like Justin Fields. Oh, there's Bears fans that still want them to keep Justin Fields and draft Marvin Harrison at 1, like not even trading back. Like, I would take a flyer if it sounds like he's going for a 5th round pick.
Yeah, that's what I agree. I don't think he's special. I don't think he's going to win a Super Bowl. If I'm a bad team, I wouldn't mind him as my starting quarterback. I don't know. It's for a 5th round pick. I don't know anything, but alas, yes, with Washington.
And the other big news, which we talked about earlier, the Sam Howell getting traded for a 2nd or a 3rd and a 5th.
Yeah.
To Seattle, which like how many 5th round picks do they have? They'd already traded us for a 5th round pick for Leonard Williams earlier. Like they stocked on 5th round picks, I guess.
Maybe I don't know.
But that's a good deal, like a 3rd and a 5th. I don't know if one of those. I didn't really look into it, but for Sam Howell, who obviously they're moving on from, and I think the world knows it, dude. Mac Jones was just traded for a 7th. Obviously, he played like dog poop. But former 1st round pick, like. A 6th Mac Jones, so I don't know what Zach Wilson's getting traded for. Probably nothing, to be honest. But Sam Howell for a 3rd and a 5th, man.
Yeah,
I mean, he had flashes. Like we both throughout the year really were impressed by him, and then also ultimately crumbled. But
that's why I would have thought that Washington would have kept him as a backup, because I think Howell's a backup, top 5 backup in the NFL. We've seen him be successful in 1 year in the NFL. Now we've also seen as bad as bad, but he had enough success where like, okay, he's not the starter in Washington. He'll be my backup. I don't know. Washington's, I guess they'd rather have Mariota, who maybe they view Howell as better as Mariota, so they don't want him to compete for the starting job. I don't know.
Also, like it's kind of, I feel like it's an awkward situation because wasn't May and Howell both in that quarterback room when like maybe that would be something that would be
maybe
it's just it is weird, big brother little brother type thing.
Yeah.
But Mariota, I was thinking too, maybe Mariota's just like just that veteran leadership. A lot of people value the veteran leadership. He's been in the NFL for a while, played in a lot of different systems. I mean, can teach, like a lot of people value Josh McCown similar for that reason. But I mean, I remember that preseason game that Mariota played last year for the Eagles. he was awful. It looked like he forgot how to play
There's
football.
not much to his game. It's funny because people are like, "Oh, he's similar to Hurts. He can run, but he can't throw. Like he might be the worst passer in the NFL. So you can't obviously you can't have a backup who can't throw the football. So yeah. Mariota's bad, and he continues to make good money. I'm not mad at him for it. Go get him, Marcus. But Jesus, he's so uninspiring.
He's not dead to you.
He's not dead to me. No,
No.
we in Philadelphia have a little bit of class, so we're not.
Oh yeah, totally full class, full class.
Yeah,
you are probably. I would say like this is a compliment. You're probably the classiest man in Philadelphia.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Care about you. I do think it's interesting some of these like veteran DN moves because obviously they traded Sweat, they traded Chase Young, Dorrance Armstrong. We talked about. I like him. Like I said, he's been getting like 8.5, 7.5 sacks as a rotational. If you have him as one of your starting edges, I could see him putting up 12 sacks this year and being a disruptor. And like you said, they can move him, like put him on a guard, kind of put him in an interior as well. And even Luvu could like kind of come off the edge too as a versatile linebacker. And they still have Jamin Davis. So I could see them rotating Jamin Davis, Luvu, like just kind of getting creative with it. Because that's what Dan Quinn said. Like, he's like, we're going to do everything. Like, we're not going to be a 4-3-3-4. So that's kind of, that's super interesting. They also like took all these flyers on defensive ends, which like, I always think is like minimum, like Dante Fowler Jr. comes from Dallas as well. And then Cleveland Farrell, who is a first round pick, super high, like 4. Yeah. That's when I thought that we were going to get Josh Allen until we got Daniel Jones. The first of those Clemson trios, which Christian Wilkins just got paid, got the bag, and Dexter Lawrence is like arguably the best defensive tackle in the entire league and is amazing. But Cleveland Farrell, like still 27. Dante Fowler is going to be 30, but like still I feel like he offers something as a depth piece. Cleveland Farrell coming from San Fran, which is Adam Peters or whatever their GM is coming from. So he's familiar with them and obviously thought it was a good investment. Minimum 1 year, 3.75 guaranteed or average. I don't even know if that's guaranteed. But yeah, I mean, they made solid, like just all around, I think, well-rounded moves. And they still have a lot of cap space where there's still a lot of room to grow. But I think linebacker was a weak position. They addressed that in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Edge rusher, they always have to do. I don't think that they're done with edge rusher, but I'm trying to think of like who's really available. Right. Like, do you think Eric Armstead's more of like he's like kind of like a D end, I feel like DT type player, right?
I'll tell you what, he doesn't get to he hasn't been getting to the quarterback enough to be a pure D end, I think. He was just cut, a few days ago?
Yeah. I don't even know if there's still some like wide receivers that they can address here. Like Hollywood Brown's still available. Mike Williams is now available. I feel like there's another big wide receiver that just got cut. It's eluding me. There's a lot. There's so much going on. Like my brain is flooded with like players and new teams.
It's hard to keep up with all of them. I just found out that Luvu was signed.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge one. Yeah. I'd say their biggest pickup. I think one of the most intriguing is Eckler. Like running back. He probably fell the hardest out of any running back, and that was mostly because of his injuries and stuff this year. But I mean, he was one of the running backs pounding the table to get that high end money. Yeah. So to see him go for 2 years, 4 million, get 5 million if you round up, 5 million guaranteed. Yeah. For like 1 year flyer. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think you fall in love with what they've done in the past for obvious reasons, and you hope you could keep them healthy and spark a little bit of that magic for the year that you signed them for.
Yeah. You see the Dalvin Cooks, you see the Melvin Gordons.
Yep.
You see these players who are dominant one season and then are just complete garbage the next. Injuries or non-injuries.
everybody, the most, I don't know if you were seeing this the last few weeks. Everybody
Yeah.
on social media keeps on saying, yeah, remember Todd Gurley? He's not even 30 yet. So,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah,
it's
it's
like,
crazy.
yeah, it's a punishing position, and it's nice that this year they got paid, which I think they should. I think the next um, players negotiation, I think they need to find a way to get more, but somehow I don't know how. But when they can get
Maybe
paid,
even just have like money, Garrett, like set aside cap space and like, hey, here's your running back. Like
yeah,
this. Just because they are like some of the faces of the league, which I guess that helps because they get like promotional deals and whatnot because they're
true.
like every team's running back, unless they're garbage like a Devin Singletary, is usually one of the most beloved players.
Yeah,
Like on the
yeah.
team.
It's
Which is
the trend though.
gets touchdowns.
The trend though in the NFL, teams win the Super Bowl when they're not paying a running back and when they have just a regular kind of guy there. And it does make sense in that way. You just don't have to pay one. But good that they're getting paid, and we'll see with Eckler. He was if the Eagles didn't make any moves and they could have gotten a discount even more. I didn't realize the market was going to be so high for running backs, so I thought Saquon would get less. I thought all of them would get less. So I thought, oh, we could pick up Eckler for maybe like $2-3 million. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But obviously that didn't happen. Running backs got paid. So we are where
Well,
we are.
I do want to look at this, and I think the Giants are smart as much as it sounds sexy for Austin Eckler. Like what we paid. I know I already said it earlier, but yeah, 5.5 million. We paid an extra, you know, 0.6 with also another, 6 million guaranteed for that second year, essentially.
Yeah.
Than Eckler. But if you're the Giants, are you mad that we got Singletary other than Eckler over Eckler with a little for a little
Um,
more?
I think Eckler's a tough sell because of his injury history and how much he has left. So between those two, probably not, honestly.
And that's why I think it's smart because the Commanders still have Brian Robinson and Chris Rodriguez. So like Eckler's a flyer, low pay point, but could have a big impact on the team. So
Yeah. No
very very interesting.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on these Commanders before we wrap things up here?
Um, so right now they just have Mariota as their quarterback because they lose Brissett and they lose Howell.
I guess so. I mean, like, let's be real. They're getting Drake Mayer, Jaden
Yeah.
Adams.
They
You
will.
heard it here first. They're drafting Drake May. I think. Although I have seen him fall a lot in fantasy drafts, so I'm thinking Drake May.
Yeah. You get your own team as a head coach, even if you're a defensive coach like Dan Quinn. You're going to get your own quarterback ultimately. So yeah, they're getting there with their roster. They have their backup in place, and I guess they'll go for their starter, which is so weird because even you could have kept since it's a three quarterback league now. You still could have kept Hal. Well, no, obviously I would trade Hal because you got a third and a fifth. But
Yeah, I mean, it was smart retreating
but
Howell.
if you
I
weren't
just
stopping him, you had to make the decision to shop him ultimately. I would have been okay with him as a third. I mean, great third option, good backup in my opinion. So I don't know. They certainly maybe they were listening to the podcast and they listened to my thoughts on him throughout the year. So who's to say? But
yeah,
yeah, they're
I think so.
primed to draft. Yeah, Drake May looks like.
Yeah. Let Jaden Daniels fall to us. I mean, honestly, it'd just be fun. It'd be fun. But yeah, actually, so I mean, there's going to be more free agency. But coming up next is our draft stuff, especially now that these pieces have fallen into place. It gives a pretty good look. Like I don't think the Giants, who people are like, oh, they're going to go tackle at pick 6. I think we have now officially ruled that out with our two bigger signings being on the O line with a versatile tackle. So I think it's wide receiver QB for us. That's pretty much locked in.
It fills out everyone's the roster a lot more, and you can get ideas where yeah, it now teams maybe they focus on what their real needs are, which is a mistake in my opinion, because you should probably always go best available in the NFL draft. But you can sort of see some patterns, some things maybe connect more with these mock drafts going forward.
Yeah, and I'm excited to actually do a little mocking. I'm kind of
Yeah,
curious to see who you see for your Eagles. I don't know if you could channel a Howie Roseman style and be that good at drafting one of the better teams. But yeah, thank you guys. We are the beasts of the NFC East, and Saquon, you're dead to me.
thank you, Saquon. Don't listen to those people, those mean people from New York.
I'm not smiling at your face when I see you. I'm gonna tackle you.
I love it. I love the cope.
If I could, I probably can't. I mean, I sucked at football.
Yeah, you're not going to tackle Quadzilla.
Eh, I'd at least give it a shot. All right, we'll catch you guys later.
The Quad Father.
All right, you know what, dude?
I love it. I love it.
I
How
hope
the
that
tables,
karma hits you. I hope
how the
that karma
tables
hits
have
you,
turned. Take that back. Don't say that.
man. Good night.